a lot of romantasy, and sometimes I see a really popular book and I look at it and I go, is it even worth it? That's what I'm here to help you guys out with today. I'm gonna go through some very popular romantasy and tell you, in my personal opinion, whether it is worth the read, maybe worth the read, or not my cup of tea and may not be yours as well. But before we get into that, let me talk to you guys about the sponsor of today's video, once again, Bellesa. So before we talk about these popular romantasy, Bellesa and I are giving away free toys. Everyone who signs up to the giveaway with the link down in the description box below is going to get either a free Whisper Vibe or a free rose with any Whisper Tech purchase. So definitely go check out that link down in the description box so that you can get yours. Sometimes these romantasy that are really worth it get a little too spicy and you need just a extra set of hands, shall we say. That is what Bellesa is here to help us do. It is a by women for everyone company, and their mission is to empower everyone to embrace, explore, and celebrate their sexuality. They have sent me their new Whisper line, and these are silent. Like, I don't know how they did it, but they've created some kind of new Whisper Tech technology that makes these absolutely undetectable for those moments when you might be reading but don't need everyone else to know what you're reading, you know? Listen, I have a mic attached to this camera. Can you hear that? I can't, and it's right next to my ear. That is insane. They may be quiet, but they are powerful. They pack a serious punch. They were so kind to send me their entire Whisper line. So no matter what type of pleasure you are looking for, we have the Bullet, which is small, compact, but packs a serious punch. The traditional Rabbit, which has 6 speeds, and the Whisper Vibe if you want something kind of in between the two. I'm hooking up everyone who signs up with a free Whisper Vibe or Rose with any Whisper purchase. They are going to stay silent, but can you? Because I'm certainly not. Thank you so much, Bellesa, for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so now we know what's going to accompany our very worth it reads. Let's talk about the books. So I have got 12 books here, 4 of which I think are worth it, 4 of which I think that are kind of worth it, and 4 of which were definitely not worth it in my opinion. So let's first start with the ones that are possibly maybe worth it. These are the ones that I either didn't enjoy the first book but really loved the second book, or I liked them. I definitely can see their audience, but they just weren't the perfect book for me. The first I think is a great example is Phantasma and Enchantra. Phantasma is the first book, and I personally liked but did not love this one. I had a few issues with the romance overall. I felt like it moved a little bit too quickly, was a little insta-lovey for me, but I loved the world building and the trials in this. So I think that if you are curious about this, you like gothic vibes, you want trials that have some deadly aspects to them, and you don't mind a little more insta-love, insta-lust part to your stories, then this would be worth it. I loved Enchantra though. I felt like the romance really stepped it up a notch in this one, and it definitely made the 2 books worth it as a whole for me. So I would recommend these. I think that they are a maybe, only if you're unsure about like the gothic trial vibes. Ooh, I forget all of these are like the whole point is to be super popular. I may ruffle some feathers, so just remember that if you love or hate these books, to each their own. But the next one that I think is just kind of maybe worth it is When the Moon Hatched. This is a dragons, enemies to lovers. Ooh, I don't want to tell you what the other trope is because I feel like it would be a little bit spoilery, but we have an assassin that is working for the rebellion, and we have a dragon rider who is crushed by the loss of his recent love. They're going to seek the truth together, and I just don't really feel like there's a lot that I want to say about this book without giving some things away. But when I first read this, I read it in basically one sitting. I was on a crunch and I had to just get through it. And I actually think that really did help my enjoyment of this book because the writing style is a lot, to say the least. It's definitely sometimes hard to get through some of her more flowery writing, but I think the world building was really good. I liked their banter and their romance. The one trope at the end is not my favorite trope, but I think it will work really well for other people. So if you want to know, look it up, but it is a spoiler, so I'm not going to mention it here. This is a maybe for me because the further I get away from it, the less I remember about it clearly because I struggled with the synopsis, and the less I'm excited to pick up book 2. It's one of those books that if you're looking for lyrical and slow and expansive world, then definitely try this. But if you want books that are a little bit more punchy, a little bit more to the point, sassy characters, then this may or may not be the book for you. So that's why it's a maybe for me, because I think it's going to work for a really good subset of readers, but it's just not going to be the book for everybody. One that I thought I owned but I can't seem to find anymore is Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. This is about a princess who has dragons, but they they were ripped away from her. They were scared of their power and put away. Now she is going to use a very cunning man to help her break them out. So we have a heist situation going on. The concept of this book, impeccable. The banter in this book, impeccable. But the overall vibes and like the world building to this, not as good. I wanted the dragons to be a much bigger part of the story. I wanted the heist to be a much bigger part of the story, but unfortunately it did fall a little bit flat. We did a lot of like day-to-day minutia instead of the fun stuff, the heist, the dragons, the banter, like all of that I loved was such a small subset, and then we were doing random things and just basically like picking at one another, which is good, but I just think that the characters really could have used some work and the plot could have just been a lot more fleshed out. So it was a 3-star for me. I still enjoyed it. Again, I think that it's gonna have its people, but for me personally, it was not my absolute favorite. And then the last one on the maybe list is the Never List by Jade Presley. I did give this a 2.5 stars, so don't come for me, but I think that it has its readers. This was a book that I thought was gonna be 5 stars when I first started it, and unfortunately as we went on is when I started to like it less. We have a world where there are 4 princes and they are looking for their fated mate. If they don't find their fated mate, then their powers are going to dwindle, and so they've got kind of a selection process happening. 5 people have already tried and 5 women have failed. So now we have our main character who is going to infiltrate this party of the selection in order to try to find out more about her sister, but she gets selected to date them instead. So it is a why choose, which I love. The setup for this I was vibing with, but when we started to get into the time where she was spending time with all of the different men, it was just a little too easy and a little too perfect. So if you like perfect, down bad, super sweet romance, this is gonna work for you. It is just a fun, no-brain kind of book that sweeps you off your feet with the romance. I personally like a little more pain and grit in my reads. I want them to be more impactful, pack more of a punch, have more banter than what this had, but I think that as long as you know what it is going in, you aren't expecting like a dark read or all of these like different character archetypes, because the men do feel very similar to me, then this may work really, really well for you. So I would give it a try if you're interested in it, but that's why it's in the maybe standpoint. Okay, so do we want to go now into the ones that I don't feel like are worth it or the ones I do feel like are worth it? I think we're going to save the ones I do feel like are worth it for last. So next up on the it is not worth it is Assistant to the Villain. I can't even really give you a synopsis for this other than it's a cozy fantasy about a girl that helps a villain. She becomes his assistant. That's all I remember because I got about halfway into this and decided to DNF it. It was just far too cozy, far too quirky for me. If you are somebody like me that likes grit and sassy characters and great banter, this is not going to be the book for you. It just felt like a cozy romance, and I was so bored by the fact that there really wasn't a lot going on. There really wasn't a lot happening. There wasn't any banter. There wasn't any sniping. There wasn't a lot of plot, and so I just needed more from it personally. And if you are the same type of reader that I am, I don't think that this one was worth it. We also have one that's gonna hurt some people's feelings, which is the Hurricane Wars. This one's a Raylo something or another, which I didn't know and don't personally care about, and I wish I could give you a good synopsis for this, but I remember it being enemies to lovers and arranged marriage, and once again did not get all the way through this. The main reason though that I don't feel like this one is worth it is the writing. The writing for me was very, very clunky, and the world building just didn't really flow and make a lot of sense. The bones of a really good book were there. I think that the banter could have been really good. I love an arranged marriage trope, but the world building was so confusing, and as somebody that reads a lot of fantasy books, I'm not usually confused by the world building unless the world building isn't done well. Now, that's not just like a pat on my back. There are definitely books that confuse me with incredible world building, but in this one, I feel like it was more of a case of it wasn't being very well fleshed out than it was like really intricate world building, and combine that with the writing that was very clunky, and probably the writing more so than the world building. I think that the writing led to the world building feeling clunky. It just did not work for me. I even tried it on audiobook because a lot of times that will help me, but it was not a style of writing that was processing in my brain. So if it's a style of writing that you enjoy, I think you will enjoy this book. It was mostly the writing completely for me here. Then we have A Road of Bones by Demi Winter. This is a Viking-inspired romantasy that I thought was a duology, but apparently isn't. I wanted to love this, but unfortunately the love interest in the first book I just could not get behind. I did not like him at all. And because of that, I was always waiting. I wanted her to be with somebody else, and I was always waiting for that to happen and getting frustrated by the fact that she was with this guy that I really didn't like. And when you're talking about a romantasy, if you don't like the couple and you don't like the love interest, it makes it very, very hard to get behind the book. Combine that with the fact that I think I just wanted a little bit more. We did a lot of traveling in this, and I'm not usually a travel fan. There are books that can do it well, but I kept wanting more of the monsters. They were supposed to be on this super dangerous road of bones, but nothing really was happening. They were just sitting around the campfire sharing stories. There were definitely some really good side characters in this that I liked a lot. There is the potential for things to happen in book 2 that I would really, really enjoy, but I think that unfortunately for me, because I was not invested in the first book, I have kind of let it leave my brain, so I don't know that I will be continuing. For me personally, I just don't feel like this book was worth it. It was just a little too slow. Didn't like the love interest. If you like the love interest, or if you are willing to power through travel or don't mind travel, this might work better for you. Then we have How Does It Feel by Janine O'Reilly. This is one of those books that I said was crack and fun and not good all at the same time. It's about a girl that studies butterflies, and she gets swept into the world of fairy and has to undergo some trials because they think that she's out to kill the fairy prince. And it is a very bully romance. It is an enemies to lovers romance. The romance though just hits super, super fast. We go from I would like to claw her eyeballs out in severe hatred to I want to screw her right now. She's incredible in my everything within one chapter. And so unfortunately, it just really didn't work for me in that switch. And I really wanted the trials aspect and everything to be a little bit more prominent in the book. The writing is also one of those that's just a silly, goofy time that you just kind of have to get behind and vibe. And I think I would have been able to do that if some aspects of it had been a little bit better done, mostly the insta-love situation. There is a big twist at the end of this that you're either gonna love or you're gonna hate. Personally, I didn't like it because I felt like it came out of the blue, and it kind of did intentionally because it was intended to be a shock value type of situation. But I personally was like, wait, I need to be able to see at least a thread. There are no threads. So I just didn't really love that part of it. If you're looking for a silly, goofy time that you can read in a day, then this might really work for you. I personally did not feel like it was worth it. And then moving into the books that I do feel like are worth it, books that I absolutely loved and am so excited that I get to scream at you all about. Let's talk first about 2 that have been out for a little while. An oldie but a goodie is Zodiac Academy. If you had asked me when I read the first book, I would have told you absolutely not. This would have been on my nose list. But as I've continued the series, I must say I'm having a good time. This is a series that is a yes only if you are looking for fun and silly, goofy and bully and just like a vibes kind of read. This is a vibes yes. This is not an incredible world building, incredible characters, the romance is off the charts. Yes, this is a vibes yes. But if you are looking for a vibes yes, pick this book up. It's following twin sisters that are the lost heir to a Fae throne, but the only way that they can get this throne is by getting through Zodiac Academy, and there are some heirs that have thought that they were going to get the throne and realize that it might be coming through their fingertips, so they are trying to sabotage them so that they can't succeed and can't go up to the throne. Like I said, this is a bully romance, but it's just a fun bully romance that turns into a down bad situation. I'm only through book 4, so this is purely based off of the first 4 books, but I'm really excited to get to book 5 and think they're just a binge fun time. Then we have Quicksilver. Is a epic romantasy with a enemies to lovers situation. Can you see a theme here that I was freaking obsessed over? We have our main character, and she accidentally meets death and uses a sword to open a portal of Quicksilver into another world of the Fae, and she is going to be trained by Kingfisher to figure out how to use the Quicksilver because she's the only one that currently can without losing her mind. I ate this book up. It's not thin, and I read it in a single day. Their banter was incredible. I loved the bully vibes in this, honestly, but then the plot just kept ramping up and up and up, and I was obsessed by this. It was one of my best books of last year. So if you have not read this yet and you are like me, you like a little grit to your romance, you don't mind when the guy is not the nicest in the world and has to work for it, but you also really want great world building and really cool characters and an ending that will leave your jaw on the floor, pick this book up because I just had so much fun with it. And then last but not least, Silver Elite by Dani Francis. You are actually going to see the vlogs for these, I think, after this video comes out. whoops, but I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It is a dystopian romance, which you don't see a lot of right now, and I'm hoping that's going to really get hyped up after reading this. This is again kind of a vibes type romance where I feel like the writing is not as polished but still really, really good. The world building is not as forefront but still really, really good, but the romance in this, so good. Cross can tell me what to do anytime, and I ate it up. I had a little bit of a struggle getting into it in the first half. I felt like it was really, really good and I was enjoying it, but it did take me a little time to fully warm up to it and become invested. When the romance kicked in, I was completely invested. I think that if you are looking for something a little bit different and you want something really fast paced that you can just binge straight through, this is absolutely worth it in my opinion. I was on the edge of my seat by the end, dying to find out what was going to happen next, and the fact that there's no sequel out yet is really, really rude. There's no sequel out yet for a lot of these books, and I am dying a little in waiting, but had the best time with this. So yes, I would consider this worth it. I know that there's some controversy of people loving and hating, and is it worth it? Is it not worth it? If you have similar reading taste to me, I would say pick it up. I had a great time. Just know what it is going in, which is a really fun dystopian romance. And then the last one that I feel like maybe is not as popular as some of the rest of these, but I still feel like it's worth it and I have to mention it, is Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Helen. If you've been kind of seeing this around and you're like, should I pick it up? Should I not pick it up? I would scream at you, yes. This is a Beauty and the Beast Why Choose? And I love it. The male characters are all so different. So unlike the issues that I had with the Never list, this one does all of the main characters so, so well. If you liked this and you wanted something with kind of similar vibes, but a little bit grittier and a little bit more fantasy, then I would suggest picking up Bonded by Thorns. It is poly, so the guys do have relationships within themselves as well as with Rosie. And we're basically following a girl that falls into a fairy world and gets captured by the Beast and has to stay in their castle. Except instead of there being one of them, there are 4. The first book is more just like a fun vibes time. Second book is a lot more spicy. By the time you get to the third book, which is where I am up to, the world building really starts to expand, the relationships start to expand, and I am head over heels for these characters. They have me by a literal chokehold and I love them so much. So hadn't necessarily planned to put this book on this list, but I just had to scream about it again in case you hadn't heard me yell about it already. Okay, so that's it. Those are the popular romantasy that I feel like are worth it or maybe not worth it. Let me know if you agree with me down in the comments below, or if this video helped you decide whether or not you wanted to pick something up. Also, let me know if you feel like I missed any. I was gonna put some OG ones in here like Guild by Raven Kennedy, which would be a not worth it for me, as well as like Powerless, which would be in the maybe category for me, but I felt like those were already so talked about that maybe you didn't need them. So if you need a part 2 to this, let me know. I will be happy to oblige. If you just want to let me know that you were here and hanging out, you're going to leave me a bird for Silver Elite. As always, thank you guys so very much for watching, and thank you Balesa for sponsoring today's video. Be sure to go check out the description and the giveaway link below, and I will see you guys in the next one.